It is so easy for the cynics unfamiliar with the film to frustratedly sigh at hearing the concept. Bresson's hasard Balthazar is a potentially over-sentimental, too proud of its convicted empathy, cinematic depressant, defying the desire for escapism and instead choreographing the cruelties and asymmetries of the experienced human or universally animal, perhaps the distinctions also, sufferings. Now, whilst this is not a sentimental film in the way that a De Sica comedy is, that is, not The Bicycle Thieves, or that a children's animated distraction is, it seems to implore an audience to find the emotional profundity in the lived existences of all living beings. It does not deny the suffering of the world, does not revel in it either, although the fact that it invites a viewer to feel something could be perceived as conceited by prospective audiences. I do believe that the premise, if described to me as the project of some random unknown or first-time filmmaker, I would be skeptical. Sounds haughty. Who do they think they are? Can a donkey act that well? When I am told, in this hypothetical universe, that Bresson is helming the project, then I am keen to view the feature. However, this was not my own experience. Instead, this was the first Bresson film I viewed, I'm fairly sure. It is not impossible I viewed A Man Escaped prior, and although I didn't adore Man Escaped upon first viewing, I was expecting films to cure my then restlessness, which is an unpleasant mode of living. Even if I viewed it prior to going into Balthazar, I would at least presume that this distinct motivated auteur, as one can tell from his handling of the Man Escaped material, could make an interesting film experience out of the donkey premise. I was open-minded, and when I first viewed Au Hasard Balthazar, I really loved it. I wanted to tell people how brilliant it was, and realised I might come across as a pompous, self-important, bourgeois, overly emotional git. That's all well and good and partially true, certainly at that time in my life, from a psychological perspective at least. Yet when I looked at this film now, I can't help but feel that, unless you simply refuse the premise, which I never would as a quantum rule, is one not impressed or even moved by Bresson's undertaking. As I moved through Bresson's oeuvre, I found myself more taken by the earlier Diary of a Country Priest and the later masterpieces, Four Nights of a Dreamer, Lancelot du Lac, The Devil Probably, and L'Argent, and I still would consider Balthazar one of his strongest works. I believe all of his features are strong, having made films and unable to see them otherwise now, and if you imagined your friend or neighbour having made a film you are viewing, removed from the mental assumption that it was scrambled together by the screen in front of you, you actually will too, if you want to. And we will realise that A Man Escaped is pretty terrific as a compositional exercise, if nothing else, and watchable if you aren't a restless adolescent, in age or at heart. It is a highly impactful film, Balthazar, one of the most noble projects in film history as far as I'm concerned. Forget the adulation it holds. If this was some random film you viewed on television, wouldn't you think, what a beautiful picture? Or, of course, if someone you knew made it, wouldn't you think, mate, you're a genius filmmaker, and whoever trained that donkey to act did a great, great job? Or is that the cooler shot effect at work? Now just a brief, modest passage here from 1001 Movies, probably aptly so. Robert Bresson's penultimate black and white film, a companion piece to the 1967 film Mouchette, is a study in saintliness, a powerful and poignant tale of wickedness and suffering, and a grim look at the innate cruelty and destructive impulses of man, by treating the eponymous donkey as a symbol of purity, virtue, and salvation, and by giving his picture a simple yet effective episodic structure. Bresson invests Balthazar with a remarkable intensity that is only enhanced by the stark visual style. Balthazar is an oft-exploited donkey who gets passed from owner to owner, in the process experiencing and observing all manner of human good and evil. His harsh and sorrowful existence, in which he is frequently mistreated, is paralleled by that of Marie and Wiazemski, a reserved young woman who becomes involved with a cruel and sadistic man, Gerard, Francois Lafarge, who eventually rejects her. Toward the end of his difficult life, however, the former children's pet, circus attraction, and beast of burden becomes the property of a gentle old miller who views him as a reincarnated saint. Bresson's film has been labelled by at least one critic as the zenith of purity in the cinema, but the highest praise of all comes from none other than Andrew Sarris. In his Classic Village Voice review of the film, Sarris writes that Balthazar stands alone atop one of the loftiest pinnacles of artistically realised emotional experiences.